It all comes down to this. Nemiga looking to try and carry on in the tournament. They only found out about a couple of days ago. And North with a brand new roster trying to keep themselves afloat. It's going to be a tough match no matter what happens next. But the fact is, Nuke is this deciding factor, Vince. And I'm sure for both of these teams, going out at this sort of stage wouldn't necessarily be a massive surprise. I don't think North came in with massive expectations. And for Nemiga, well, they literally only got into this tournament based off a team dropping out. So both with relatively low expectations, but I'm sure both with fairly high hopes.
Yeah, especially now, you know, it effectively comes down to a best of one. You can just forget about the past. You can forget about the previous maps. And I think Gade kind of chimed in with what you just said. He just wants to win a game. You know, it's not even about winning the tournament. It's not about how far you can go. He wants to, you know, take the baby steps, learn to walk before you try and walk the sprint or, you know, join into a marathon or something. So speaking of which, we will be getting into the game finally. And North on the T side, running straight across using that outside wall of smokes that we discussed earlier on to get downstairs and get up close and personal with these Glocks. 2 Molotovs in place, but already the CTs are moving down, looking to try and cordon off these areas. Lollipop gets himself 2 USP frags, and good mollies are distributed, but the damage has already been done. It's a clean sweep. Nemiga don't even lose a player.
Lollipop has started strong, and that's exactly what we needed to see. As said, he's the X factor. He's the player that when he wasn't here, things didn't look great. Like as said, Forrester, well, he's even been linked to Forza now, which considering the talent that's on that Forza roster, replacing one of them with Forrester, that almost proves his caliber, right, Vince? So the fact that Lollipop has come in and instantly started to make a difference, he's won them a pistol round almost solely off his own back. And now we've got the force buy-in from North.
Yeah, not able to get their hands on the bomb plant. Hasn't really given them too many options here. So it's all about the force. It's all about the 4 Tech 9s and a P250 on top of it. Jo watching down 3-player stack over on A, including a scout, interestingly enough. Understandable if they wanted to try and repel the push outside again that you'd pick up a scout. Now North waiting for these smokes to clear. Once they do clear, expect all hell to break loose. They want to use these pistols to their strongest effect and attributes, and that's run and gun style. Second smoke has now been deployed though, and North realizing that rotations could be a thing behind them, have now got to go straight in through the smoke. It's not worked out well for them. MDS now chips in with 1, and Box joins the call. It's another massacre. It's another round to Nemiga. Unless Gage can somehow emulate that performance on train. But Jo says no. Nemiga want to put this to bed quick.
Yeah, good hold from them as well. And as said, I think it's important that they get off to, well, important for both teams, they get off to a strong start. For North, the thing that worries me a little bit is I think if they don't get at least like 6, 7, maybe even 8 rounds on their T side, I'm skeptical how much they can realistically have done to get the 2 new players ready for Nuke. Like, it's not a map you puck. Although there are some teams with, like, incredible individual skill, like, for example, Nemiga, who can get themselves through a fair few rounds off individual brilliance. A lot of the time, we've seen teams, for example, Godsend, proved how important utility is and how stellar they can play on the T sides. For North, unless they've specifically prepped for this map, I don't know if they'll be ready.
Still early days, of course, to tell whether that's the case or not. But it is one of the more strategically heavy maps in the pool. I don't doubt that they know a bunch of different outside executes, but for me it's about A. How well can they feasibly make their presence felt? Well, in terms of this round, Tom, they got themselves a player advantage, and Christo with an M4. Now, there's no Kevlar to mitigate any of the aim punch that could be coming in, but Nemiga, they're in a bit of trouble here. Early on, this would be a great time for North to bounce back and break down the economy of the CTs. 40 seconds as Jo goes in, strikes gold with the frag, but he's been dropped to 18 HP, and Christo is waiting. Suggests to me he may very well try and vent dive behind his 2 adversaries. But Jo's actually taking the initiative. He's gone in first, and Box puts the bullet downrange into Christo, and it seems like Nemiga may be able to hold on. Jo's position is going to be very strong if they try and force the plant down. as they can just listen for the sound cue and then go for the wide swing and try and shut this out. That's exactly what comes into play. And North will concede for a third time. Lepro simply doesn't have the time left to clutch the 1v3, and positionally he was out in no man's land.
That round still felt almost worryingly close, though. Like, bear in mind that started off with Christo getting a Glock kill and then stealing an M4. Like, those are situations that you don't really want to be happening if you're Nemiga, and even just getting close in rounds like that fills me with a little bit of confidence for North. Of course, you do normally test out your craziest strategies when you have nothing in play, so it doesn't necessarily mean they'll be as crazy. But then again, I say that, Christo, he's gone straight towards the door, finds Box almost instantly. Now, there was a match I watched of Nemiga on Nuke, which, well, I can imagine, Vince, you know that because I remember that match, it's not one that this is coming with a positive story. Singularity. Not the old one, a Danish version that had Mertz. Managed to kill, I think it was Box, 2 or 3 times just with grenades, because he always plays on the edge of Mini. And because they watched one demo, they just nade stacked him multiple times. He did not move. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is Nemiga can be quite predictable on this map. But as they are on many others. The difference being Singularity managed to put in work on their T side to directly counter them. I don't necessarily believe that North will have done that.
I'm seeing some positive signs, though, on North. They're at least taking out side control, not just doing the tried and tested secret push. Try and burst downstairs. So Christo down here may get caught with a molly. Just about salvages the situation. Doesn't get wide peak. Flash, though, will keep them at bay. And that's the AWP downstairs, by the way. So if he just got overwhelmed, that could have been a very awkward situation taking shape. But with Gade also chipping in, and with them converting the outside control into an A-side plant, looks like North will finally get themselves on the board. With the economy situation, they could do well to hold on to these 2 guns. As you can see, Speedak down at $150. Lollipop not faring too much better at 600. And so with 5 and 1, even though Lollipop is having a good start to this map, seems like he could be on the chopping block, or perhaps not. He becomes the executioner. Kriaz goes out, doesn't want to try and upgrade the weapon because it would put him in a very awkward spot. North will take the round, though, Tom. And as I said, there's some positives that definitely brim to the surface there. I want to see if they can maybe have a couple of different takes, though, to that formula.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the future of Christo, though, because like in the last roster, I felt like he was a piece forced in, and I don't mean AGF. I mean the last time he was in North. Whereas now it seems like they are trying actively to set him up into positions, and he's actually thriving. And it's only been, as said, a couple of days. Like, he has had less time with this team than anyone. They were practicing with their coach for the majority of the time. I'm excited for the future of this team. You think about how many stars have been bought and passed through this North roster. It's nice to see them trying to build one up. Good start from Kriaz. He's another who, well, we don't know whether he will be a permanent stay, but he's made a pretty good case. The last map, not bad from him at all, and it seems from the interview with Lecro that even after their devastating loss yesterday, he was fairly happy with how he performed. Gade, though, he found so much space. He manages to get all the way behind them through hell. Both CT players completely confused as to how he's done that. And well, if they're already starting to find holes in the Nemiga defense, we could be in for another train.
Absolutely. That's what I was just about to say, what was in my mind. And something that you touched on in the previous round about them being maybe a bit stubborn, a bit headstrong, a bit predictable. Well, North, twice in a row, full outside control, have managed to wrap around, negating most of the defense. And JO will get the drop. He loses on 5-0 briefly before he gets put down by Cajun. But I need to see Nemiga do something about this outside control now, because it is becoming alarmingly obvious that it's a very weakened area of the map. Now, if North are on their tiptoes, if they're feeling it, they can make the most of that. If they bolster up outside, that could very well leave the likes of Ramp pretty empty and vacant. It can leave A a little bit more susceptible. And this is where I'd like to see set plays come into effect on A. What do they have in their sleeve? What do they have in their pocket? Early on, North taking control over lobby. It is Nemiga, however, basically on just pistols.
just pistols, he says, as Lollipop pings the head straight off Gade to start off the round. The curse of Big V has started to come through once again, and we'll see if Nemiga can do anything with it. Lollipop already getting a second tag, and actually Speedak in the meantime managed to yoink the AK out of their hands, and he's going to fall back. Even though he's the healthier of the two, he knows that Lollipop needs to be the one manning this gun, and 7-2, a fairly decent start. The scoreline is at least equalized, but a second pistol kill coming up. You're starting to feel a bit nervous, Vince.
Oh, MDS to the head of Cajun. You know, the second I said just pistols, something in the back of my brain said, yeah, and you jinxed it. And there's Speedak as well. Oh, no, North. Oh, geez. You got a feel for them. Oh, Lecro, okay. Okay, in a bit of a quiet Inferno, maybe with a point to prove, but he doesn't have control of the bomb. 30 seconds is enough time. You can see him jumping around every corner, anticipating. They may still have a couple pistols, but of course they've had more than enough of a chance to pick up the AWP. Maybe jumping around the corner, forcing the chance of a leg shot rather than an outright frag. He's trying to bait out that shot into effect, and Lecro's got him with a 4K. He's also on for the ace. There's 10 seconds to go. Does he know where JO's positioning currently is? Jumping around the corner. Oh, Lecro's actually clutched. Electric.
He saved you. He saved you from the jinx. Lecro up with an utterly ridiculous ace. Bear in mind, he had 0 kills up until this point. So every single kill in one round. And Lecro, you can really ask for much more. Even though that's a round that there was no reason for Nemiga to even come close. The fact that they lost it in that sort of fashion. The fact is, Jo could have just run away. I think that's what he was attempting to do. Just get out of there. Get away from that position because there was only 10 seconds. It had to be the kill from Lecro. But that success equalizes things, gets them their third T round. They took a nasty hit, and if the CT side can still look at that as a positive, they break back in this round, they're absolutely fine. But I feel like that's still going to knock the confidence a bit.
Yeah, we spoke about combo breakers quite a few times on Inferno, Tom. It seemed to go back and forth throughout the entire map, and this is getting into a nice sweet spot where the same could very well be said about Nuke. Already early ebbs and flows of the waves crashing against Nemiga, but we know that they can give just as good as they get. And let's not forget, contextually, that was pistols that they very nearly took the round with. That has brought the economy down on a couple players, allowed Nemiga to get a really solid purchase here. And North, with 40 seconds to go, they don't have full outside control. They've got a player on main, but the rest of them are stuck in lobby. And they're going to have to brute force their way through an A. This is looking a little bit sketchy.
Lecro looking to lead by example now. Being the first man into the site as he looks for the opener. It's Gade to take the first, but they're working in tandem. Box at least finds one back in response, but the remaining 2 players down the bottom of the vent here will escape out. He actually gets the first kill. His teammate needs to try and join him, or maybe not. Looking to try and do it all on his own. The Estonian among a sea of Belarusians. But the fact is, now Lollipop's left alone. He's the man you'd want in this situation. But Gade on the other side had his moments. The wraparound coming in. And oh, I thought for a second he might just land the shot. However, Lollipop eventually gets the job done. A very strong 2v3. Jo stepping up when needed. And Nemiga, they do break straight back.
They break straight back, but it's at great cost to 4 players going down. And although North have lower economy on Kriaz and Cajun, I would not be surprised if they still force this. They must know that Nemiga are on the brink of a downturn. And with that downturn, rounds should follow. Kristau, 7.6k, he can buy. He can even get an AWP if they want to go for it. Kriaz drops down to a Mac 10. Cajun may very well follow suit. Nope, Christo drops him an AK instead. So this is a very solid, healthy buy with a tactical timeout deployed alongside it. Now, this is the moment that we were talking about, Tom. They've met some resistance. I need to see what North have in retaliation. What do they go for? How many tactics do they have up their sleeve that they can bust out? Because there's no need in holding on to them anymore. You're facing elimination. This is where you've got to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
But that's the thing that I think they should have in buckets, because you've got Lekra, who was previously an in-game leader, clearly has a mind for Counter-Strike. Gade as well, who now takes the reins, but also Cajun B, who has heaps of experience in comparison. So ideas should be off the charts. It's whether or not they have the right execution. They've gone for a straight-up vent dive. I have not seen that happen too many times, as they've done it with the whole squad. It's not just one player as the norm. However, they are losing the duels more importantly. 2 kills go in the favor of this Nemiga side. Gade needs to go huge. Jail, he was waiting, but the timing couldn't be worse. And now they're going to know that there's a player flanking in. Speedak needs to get a move on. His teammate alongside him, but Cajun B picks him off. And now it's left to box. He actually retrieves the AWP, and MDS has actually made a move forward. Could he have a chance just to defuse this?
No, not anymore. The bomb wasn't fully planted for the 2Ts, but out come Nemiga into the open, into the lion's den. And Kriaz, well, he will devour them whole. Nemiga now have to likely save. And this is where that previous round, the 4K, the one before it, with Lekro clutching, does catch up with the CTs. They don't really have much to offer, but I'm going to reserve judgment in saying anything about it just being pistols and North surely win. Not going to say that because, well, we know what happened.
It's a good round, at least. I should say it again. Oh, dear. MDS. You never guess what happened. I don't know how Lekro's managed to get it so fast. Straight down the vent once more. Maybe a position they need to be a bit more careful with. Again, that's normally somewhere you place a lot of your counter utility, and as we've witnessed previously, Nemiga aren't fantastic at that. See that, not quite checking the right angle, but Lollipop will win the duel. That's a second AK retrieved. I'm starting to get deja vu, and I don't know if, well, I was going to say I don't know if Lekro can save them. I know he can't. He's dead. Unless they have a Sage to res, but I don't think this is that game. It's not quite as colorful and doesn't have as much BS. Nonetheless, MDS, one of the only players who actually has Kevlar here. Jo, the timing is everything. He peeks back around, spots his opponents, but escaping here is not going to be easy. He might have to just duck out. Back up the vent he goes. And now there's actually no one to defend this B site at all.
I do wonder if they, even in a 3v3 where there's a way forward to potentially win this, if the idea is to gamble stack, and if they guess wrong, they just save the AKs. I mean, it is such a huge bonus in terms of firepower. Maybe they'll dip their toe in the water and see if maybe a retake is on the cards. If they can get a quick kill, it does open up the chances. And the bomb's only just been planted, so even though they don't have a kit, it's not as much of an issue as long as they can get a pick quickly. Now, good smoke has been deployed. There's still a HE and a flashbang. Christo, up close with the AWP, needs to make it work. Gade, also Shadow. They're not necessarily covering one another, and MDS will pounce on that. These post plants are questionable at best. It's going to be very costly, but MDS has to stick the site and decides to actually pick up the AWP and try and save it. It's actually, all things considered, a pretty solid round for Nemiga, and Kriaz may die to the bomb. Likely will survive, however. He'll be fine. Not bad from Nemiga. I really feel like that could have gone a lot worse for them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in those sort of rounds, I'm sort of looking at them and going, you should be getting 1 kill, 2 max. Like, the fact that they are now consistently getting 4 kills. The problem is rounds like that, it's like they start off, and if you look at them in isolation, you're going, hey, 4 kills, that's pretty good. But if you're now losing a few of these situations where you're getting yourself a decent advantage each time, and then you lose the round, it's still going to feel like, okay, we could be winning this now like 7-3 or something. Like, we could be quite far in the lead. So I don't know. It depends on the mentality from Nemiga. If they're still like, okay, that was an incredible round, we got ourselves an extra AWP and it's improved our buy and damaged their economy, they're probably quite happy. If they're looking at it as, okay, that's 2 rounds we should have or could have won, maybe they're a little bit more in the dumps. Impossible to tell. For the T side, well, I sort of highlighted it in that spew, but their money's not great.
Is plummeting down pretty low on both sides of the debate. It's one that's being argued with bullets, and Box, well, he'll be up to the aggressing. He nearly actually takes down a player through the smoke, but goes down to Christo's AWP. And he's completely out in the open, and I think this is where the amount of rounds that North have been very aggressive outside and got a lot of control is just causing Nemiga all kinds of trouble. Like, they're posting up so many players to contend with this, but it feels disjointed because of their lack of utility. That being said, though, Tom, only 30 seconds left, and North still need to crack into one of these sites.
I like the angle from Jo as well. Like, it's one that's actually relatively difficult to clear. He's going to be sat back in the corner. Lekro didn't stand a chance, and the crossfire of this site has done damage so far. Jo, though, maybe slightly misreading the situation, goes to try and clear the close angle. A good spot from Speedak, but he's a little bit too slow. He won't be able to deny the plant this time, and the scope will be heard. The nade could kill off Gade, though. And actually, his AWP connects, but they don't spot Cajun B at the back of the site. Now, an AWP versus 2 in a crossfire setup, his wrist can't flick that far. Otherwise, it might end up like, can't say that. And, well, 6-4. Too soon? Too soon ends.
Just love the way that you, midway through the thought, were like, can't say that.
I was like, you know what, maybe give it a week or two. It was only a couple of days ago.
Well, you mentioned about a plummeting economy. It is down in the dumps. And North looking to fully bury Nemiga. 3 kills, 2 with the back 10 of Lekro. As he gets up close and personal. And Nemiga, well, they're off to try and get some exits. There's not really any hope of winning this round, so may as well at least try and get some AKs and keep that fairly flaky economy of North as down as you possibly can. But North already posting up 7 rounds on their T half. Already looking pretty solid, all things considered. Now, we have already said that the Nemiga typically do their best work when it is the T side. So I'm not willing to write this off, and Box will suppress Kriaz and take his AK. Well, that's pretty short-lived. Lasted about 2 seconds.
It's good to see them finally get a cleaner anti-eco round as well. That was one of the main things we were really worried about with Norse, because as said, this could very, very easily be a flip scoreline. They have had 2 rounds now. One of them was an ace from Lekro to save them from pistols. The other, of course, was when MDS managed to get a triple fairly early on in the round and find some guns for his team. So it's not been clean, but if you were to look at the scoreline at this point, yes. North are in a pretty damn good position. Their money starting to actually build up a little bit. Christo even going to invest into an AWP, and the battle for him and Speedak throughout this series has only really gone one way. Speedak has had a quiet match. That went through 2 walls. So Speedak actually only takes 20 HP off being legged by an AWP. It's going to take 3 AWP hits to kill him.
Those boxes, his guardian angels, but down very low as a result of it, so he can't really extend too heavily, knowing that AK fire may be coming his way. This could all come down to the timing. He has spotted Kriaz, goes for the no-scope, won't be doing anything, and now Low has been finished off, and in come North. Again, this ruthlessness outside has not been plugged up by Nemiga. And this has been the entire half, Tom. This isn't a shock or a surprise. This has been here from round 1.
Oh, dear. Well, Box thought he was escaping into the safe haven of B, but the fact is that's where the T's actually decided to plant their C4. And yeah, the real issues we've sort of had towards Train was that, especially for Nemiga, there was just too much space being gathered up by North. They were able to just wait patiently, and it was only off almost sheer ridiculous aggression coming out of Nemiga that they managed to get any kills. They don't really seem to have the support system in play to allow players to properly get aggressive and take fights. I know, again, I think the reason Speedak is so inconsistent is because when you watch Christo play, a lot of the time he has people, even now after just 2 days, trying to set him up with flashbangs or putting utility in to help him. Note how every peak that Speedak went for there was a dry peak, and there was 3 or 4 of them. And it's like, if you're having to do that on Nuke, where a lot of the time the CT side are meant to be favored in a lot of these early battles, that is an awful look for your side. So I don't know. He's having a rough day, but at the same time, I feel like Nemiga could do a lot more to help him out.
Man, Nemiga being 4-8 behind actually have a ton of opening picks as well. They've typically been in 5v4s and lost them. It goes to show that North, even while losing plays, have had this systematic control. And this round seems to be going the same way. What's been very surprising to me is we haven't really seen Nemiga using that secret position too often. We saw this yesterday. You get a good spawn, you can actually trade out a player down secret very quickly and pop up and just continue to be a nuisance, continue to be a pain in the ass on the aggressors. Always have that threat. Now it's an off angle from Box, but Cristo with the AWP. He just takes him down. Just runs straight in. Nemiga cannot deal with this aggression at all.
Yeah, they're crumbling under the pressure. They've sent 3 players to the lower bomb site off what is essentially a single pick. They're going for this group up. Now, we saw this used previously. Not necessarily a bad idea, but to try and reclaim this out of control, they're going to have to catch someone off guard. Now, Letcro is watching the angle. Chance of him getting a multi-frag here seems fairly slim. The chance of expecting more players, even slimmer. Speedak at least trades, but there is support. Lollipop with another, but does he know that Cristo is waiting? Oh, that answer comes swiftly. 9-4, North again in a dominant position. And once more, we're sort of looking at Nemiga and going, you have a coach, yet you don't pause. Adaptations, sure, there was one in this round, but it was after they'd already lost early picks. And again, I feel like they're just a team that are so reliant on individual plays. And on Inferno, it was definitely better. Like, they seem to have like decent grenade setups, but that's what that map is almost designed about. It's like they've been forced into it. And again, a fast play out from North. I like the change of pace. This time, Jo is actually on a very quick flank. He pushed all the way through ramp, and he's managed to get him behind them. They've got a hero to save them here. In fact, they have multiple. Somehow these force fire rounds have been 10 times better than any of their purchases, and Nemiga will finally win one of them.
It's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it, in Counter-Strike, where so often a team will just be getting battered when they have rifles. They'll pick up like these 5.7s, Deagles, Kevlar, and suddenly they become gods. And I really feel like a lot of it is because the pressure almost is off in those scenarios. And a lot of these teams go more free-flowing. They go a little bit more aggressive. They like to take more risks. And there's a lesson to be learned there, Nemiga. They're not a team, by the way, that often shies away from taking risks. So I'm so confused and baffled at how static their defense is. And of course, as I say that, Lollipop does take a risk. He goes aggressive, and he loses his head as a result, and they lose ramp.
Yeah, this seems like a last-ditch efforts, right, Vince? It's like, nothing works, let's try something crazy. And, well, North have been very good at actually quelling this aggression and throwing in quite a bit of their own. Still, a 3v4, Cristo low, and an opportunity here. Nade will blast out the door, and Cade is actually going to close out another MDS. Doesn't expect him to wrap around. This is space that they've been able to garner for the majority of the game. Jo, again, will find the trade outside, but that's the low player. That's not really that valuable a kill, especially with after plant positions. It's going to have to be some pretty big opening frags to get them back into this site.
This is going to have to be surgical precision on the re-engage, and it'll be through smoke. To make matters worse, JO's gone down. There's mollies, there's flashes, there's a kitchen sink just been tossed in towards Speedak. And there's nothing that he can do about it. No kit, no grenades, no chance. Tagged, living on borrowed time. It will be 10-5 going through to the second half with the Danes over the top of Nemiga. If they can secure 6 more, Nemiga are eliminated. Find out if they can get it done after this break.
And I'm hoping and praying you're waiting for me because you know we got this, baby. I fight, I fall, I risk it all.
Well, a 10-5 half in favor of North, relatively decent for them. Over on... Oh, match is paused, it looks like. We're coming back to my beautiful face. I've definitely not been eating, and that's why, you know, I'm maybe stuttering a little bit. Had some lovely unbranded ice cream. But, yeah, we're going to be getting into things relatively soon, Vince, and why I try and swallow what I've just tried to eat in that time. You can talk about how wonderful that game is.
Yes, yeah. I will say, in terms of like schoolboy errors, eating ice cream while commentating has got to be up there. It's like it's definitely
I don't
a
want it
sin.
to melt though.
True. Yeah. Understandable. Yeah. We have seen an interesting half of Counter-Strike. I'm not going to say that I think Nemiga have lost already, but I've definitely not been impressed with their CT side. We did already discuss, though, when it comes to Nemiga, they are probably more favored on the T half. It allows them to be their aggressive selves, and North have struggled a little bit at repelling that over the last couple days. So I think we're actually in a very interesting sweet spot where it is 10-5, and North certainly have the advantages, but I think Nemiga have every chance at coming straight back into this game and making it a really close affair. Pistol, though, certainly an important moment. If they are to concede this, then North have everything going in their direction. They will be cruising down the highway. It'll be very difficult to catch back up with them. These are the kind of executes that we didn't really see from North. These Molotovs on the top of the hut, forcing away the CTs from ramp. There's a 3-player stack. This read is excellent from North, but they've lost Lecro. And in amongst that, Nemiga just pulled the plug. They go straight back over towards the A side of the map.
Nice trade from Cajun B, and he's going to be well placed to do some damage here. Kriya's from above as well has picked off another. And they have a flash ready to try and pop players back in, but it seems like they're going to wait. They're going to hold on to it, get Cajun up there as well, and put them into a much stronger position. They do have a kit, so they have time to play with, but they've got to be careful that they don't let it tick too far. But there's the first flash. Second one coming through as well. Kriya's actually left blind by it. It's not quite gone to plan, but luckily Cajun B gets the trade. Gade, he'll pick off one and manages to snap back as well. It will be the pistol going the way of North, but with a bomb plant and a few kills, I wouldn't be surprised if Nemiga falls.
No, neither would I. And I think they may feel even more pressured to do so, to just try and battle back as soon as possible and not let North build up this economy. After losing the first player and by and large control over A site, it is actually so impressive that somehow North battled back onto the site with Gade. Like, that's outrageous. Nemiga have got to capitalize on those chances because they may be few and far between. Do have 2 AKs and a Galil, so plenty of potential power plays, but Christo has dulled the senses, flipped the kill switch, and Jo, he's a done deal in round 17. And considering that he's been one of their consistent performers, even on the first map of Train when they got battered, that is worrying.
Well, Lollipop yet to have one of those standout performances just yet. He will, however, open up onto Gabe, but it's at a pretty costly price. And yes, just launched himself in. Had no support, no one behind him. Yes, hoping to catch someone off guard, but instead has just handed away one of those rifles. 3 players still standing, but remember, Lollipop was tagged incredibly low, and Cajun, not a massive fan. I was about to say, him trying to watch both angles at once seems like a almost impossible task. He now calls for the rotation of Christo, with Kriaz already holding outside. They know they can't have gone in that direction. And they don't have a Molotov here, so clearing this angle is tough, but actually Lollipop does manage to win the duel. Christo trying to pre-fire a few angles in. They make it down the vent. They do. However, Kriaz, he was here earlier, still been waiting, and has probably just won them the round. He has. Alongside Christo, it is closed out. And North, they convert versus the Force by an important victory for them to not allow Nemiga back into anything. But MDS has instantly brought back up again.
Which is quite surprising because it's always about that risk and reward factor when it comes to forcing in situations like this. I think, obviously, you have a raid boss, so you have a bit of a power play to play behind, but it's not like North's economy across the entire team is garbage. Like, 2 of them actually have okay economy. MDS, though, proving why he went for the AK. Shutting us up there, Tom. But then again, sure, you've got a pick. You can't pick up that weapon just yet. You have no utility at all to speak of. So, in terms of a 5v4, for me, North is still firm favorites to pick this up.
Yeah, for this to be considered worthwhile, I think he needs to get a few kills. But there you go. He's just walked straight out of the heart. I don't know how he gets there for free, but hey, MDS doing MDS things. We mentioned on Inferno, he was the pinnacle player. He was the one who brought them back from the depths in a couple of rounds. And well, Box is dead. Another Box trying to give him a helping hand, but walking around the back. Not quite going to be working. I'll be honest, Letcro, it seems like a pretty basic kill to be celebrating with a spray, but I'm sure you've got lots of them to spare. More, it's just going to be a save. So it's an extra 2 guns picked up. In fact, 2 of the rifles go into the hands of Nemiga. We question the investment. How much can a raid boss rifle really do? But again, MDS proves us wrong and manages to get a couple of kills and win them the round.
I mean, it's just a simply phenomenal round by MDS. And even within the confines of the 2 picks that he got, it's not like North made some horrific errors. It's just lightning fast entries. Like, even in slow motion, that's rapid. North had no chance at repelling that. It's somewhat dumbfounding, and the impact it has on their economy, but also North, is vast. Even after a full buy, because they picked up so many guns, they can buy into the next round as well, Tom. That is a huge step towards making this comeback a reality.
Fast playing, H&B ready and waiting. He doubles up as they just peek him one by one. It's all too easy for the veteran Dane. Man, they look a bit disjointed, but the push back in, I thought that was going to be a kill for Box. It should have been. At least Speedak can trade eventually, but I think it's too little too late. He's now going to have to bring back, well, an ace. He needs an ace to win.
Just as quickly as Nemiga spin around North, they themselves get smacked in the face, dizzy. But Speedak seems like he's holding on to this ride. He's enjoying it, perhaps. Bomb under his control with 50 seconds. Krista up on hut has a fantastic position for this very scenario. Speedak has enough time to feasibly try and divide these 2 from one another and maybe even dive down the vents, but the problem is that if the timing works in Christo's favor, he will just have him dead to rights. He goes back into the peak, he spots him. I was wondering if he goes straight away back into watching the other side, assuming that Squeaky was clear, but spots him, death from above, and the Nemiga have been brought back down to earth with a bang, but they can buy again.
That's the second time now. And then this is why I think this is giving me flashbacks to Train, where Cajun B's not in like a completely unorthodox angle. It's one that you'd normally have to try and pre-fire kill. And he just gets 3 individual jewels. And as said, he's not going to miss that. That's a sort of easy cleanup for someone of his experience. And we're going to see the vent dive. An investment in Box only with a Tech 9. He's used as bait. He's just trying to pull them into a rotation, which he did. 2 players went down to the B site initially, although Letcro has since rotated back. The rest of the team still lurking around the lobby and actually starting to make a play outside. Now that they've spotted Box, they're going to try and take some control.
Control secret way for the time being, but Lollipop has been pushed out of the round. MP9 finalizes him. Jo in deep concentration, focus, trying to bring them back into this round, back into this map, keep them alive a little bit longer. It's a solid headshot onto Christo. But look how disjointed the rest of the T's are. They can't really follow him up, and he misses out on that spray. Cajun takes minimal damage in the process, and now in a 2v4, they've got to spring into action, and the hero of a couple rounds ago, MDS, is the first to fall in this encounter, and Box doesn't fare too much better. 14-6, Nemiga's economy in the bin. Is this where North continue their tournament lives?
It's great to see Kriez get really pumped up as well. Obviously, you'd feel like for someone like him, there might be some nerves. Like Christo instantly signed to the team. You come in on trial, and well, let's just say the first match didn't go exactly to plan. They've come in now, won a first map convincingly, and maybe let the second one slip. I don't think that's unfair to say. Like, Nemiga definitely played well, but there were opportunities for North. Now they've come into a map which has been historically a Danish safe hold, and well, they're looking very good. 14-6. The wins from Nemiga have been few and far between, and sure, in the early stages, there were rounds with pistols that could have given them a huge boost, but North managed to quell those rounds. Bear in mind, with 12 kills, 5 of Lecro's first kills were all in one round, an ace that saved them from fairly embarrassing loss. And now all they have to do is cling on. There will not be a full buy coming up unless they lose a round here. That's not the start they were looking for, though.
Yeah, straight up flash and Molotov basically dispatches Krias. Completely stuck, and in the meanwhile, the T's now making moves through, and that smoke trying to vent dive. They do successfully get downstairs, but Lecro is here. He's already had a huge clutch in this map. Could this be another big moment? He can deny the plant, goes in for the spray. No, it's a little bit awkward. It's a little bit too late, so the bomb does get planted down, and now North are forced into an awkward position. Gade can't believe that he's just been tech-9'd. And now Nemiga, it's their turn again to somehow pull this out the fire. Did North even go for this? They may at least flirt with the idea, and now that Christo has been put down, Cajun can't really go for this. He wants to save the AK instead. Nemiga just continue to somehow survive. By the skin of their teeth, they hold on.
That almost seemed like a scene from the Chuckle Brothers, like with all of them trying to get down the vent at exactly the same time. They get stuck on each other for a good 5 seconds in the smoke, and still they managed to come out of this round on top. And again, that's going to be one that North are absolutely kicking themselves about. Like, they had opportunities. Like, firstly, one player blind runs into a Molotov. Bit unfortunate for Kriaz. This was rough because I don't know if he saw the man walking across, but if he did, then that's a free kill. You probably go for the man not planting the bomb first, but I guess wanted to deny them having it at all. Instead, Lecro goes down, and then it's just after plant positions as normal for Nemiga, and they do very well. Jeo, the Estonian, leading the charge. 19 kills for him. We've had a quieter showing from Lollipop, that's for sure. And, well, let's be real. At this point, Vince, they need everyone. They are 7 rounds behind. North need just 2 to close this one out. And Christo looks to lead the charge. He's being spammed through and needs some support. Molotov going to force him out. He's dead for sure. Good utility usage from Nemiga.
Yeah, good job of making sure that Christo can't survive in Garage, but do they expect Gade to also be sat here? This could completely catch them off guard, and this could be the nuts position that yields North more success. They don't check their angles, could be punished, but they're running out of utility. They only have 1 smoke to go, and Gade has shown his hand. And it proves to be too much for speed. Lollipop, though, holding the line of lobby, trades out onto Kriaz. He has been impaired down to 29 HP himself, though, and Cajun now getting up close. He's making moves into Hut. He's waiting for that peek, but MDS with another opening pick. That should be A-site falling.
That should have been Cajun's kill. Again, like MDS, it seems like he just manages to do things that, oh, most of the time don't really make much sense. Like, the opponent was waiting. He walks into the angle relatively slow, and somehow Cajun just doesn't quite react fast enough. Maybe would have expected in a normal case that there would have been a flash or something behind it, but I guess at this point you have to be prepared for anything. Gade retrieves the kit, retrieves an AK, actually kills off Lollipop. The problem is the time is too low. He has to save. His teammate's already gone, and the money for this north side is in the bin.
It's in the bin, but to be fair, Nemiga's economy is not in too much greater shape. There is a 6-round buffer, so North definitely don't have to force the issue. And it's not like they're eyeing up like a double eco or any of that nonsense, so they probably will tap out. But yeah, that was the main moment with MDS getting the entry onto Cage, and that could have been the round falling into position. And a stat here, an excellent showing from Christo. He's 8-2 in opening picks. That is an astounding statistic, and so impactful for the youngster.
Now, in the first map, we witnessed Gade having some pretty impressive hero plays. They wouldn't mind another here. Bristo's going to be the first point of contact, however, and almost like he's in a bait and switch. First, he goes his way, looking to try and set up Lekro, but Box manages to swing from one head to the other. A frustrating round for Lekro, it seems, as it's not quite gone to plan. The remaining 2 players are still here, though. Gade's AK could still spring into action. They do have to be careful of Lollipop's lurk, but if he gets the timing right, he has a chance. Unfortunately, it's not quite gone to plan. They are still going to continue to push in here, but the timing goes against them. Every kill in a matter of seconds. And Nemiga, they're clawing this back.
You can see how much the just raw atmosphere, just everything being on the line, the situation is affecting North. They're in the lead 14-9. They're still in a very good position. And yet, as you touched on, Lekro's reaction was just full of disappointment in a round that really shouldn't be theirs anyway. He saw Gade kind of clap his hands together in frustration. They're starting to feel it now. And that would have been a brutal start with Cajun nearly getting sprayed fully down. That Molotov won't fully extend. He will survive just about, but has the damage been inflicted bad enough that he can't really hold on to the site and leaves Kriaz out to dry. Kriaz changing his angles, keeping on top of Hut, and it seems like for the time being at least, they forced Nemiga back. But it's at cost to Cajun, at cost to quite a bit of utility, and outside control is now beginning to get established by Nemiga.
Plenty of time for them to play with as well. Christo's all trained in, waiting. Box going to leave him flashed off the angle, and MDS is going to continue to try and probe here. Box almost trying to sell this as a rotation down, but the fact is the rest of the team is still waiting in the lobby position. There's already 2 players on the lower bomb site as well, so Cajun isn't going to make the rotate just yet. And in fact, Kriaz seemingly want to come back up the vent, but it's too little too late. You mentioned Cajun was low. Kriaz actually does manage to get away with a kill. Acts as a form of distraction, and Cajun B just trying to lurk on the edge of the flames. Even a single kill here could be enough to make a big difference, but with missed shots, he has to try and fall back to the site. Timer ticking, a missed shot from Christo as well. Cajun does manage to get one. It keeps things close. But now that Gade has fallen, things become tougher in this retake.
Well, yeah, combine the 2 of them, barely have any HP, but it's Lekro with the M4 that comes in first. They're both moving through together. Speedak gets tagged. He's got a 3K already. And now he can start to play the bomb timer. Lekro's just picked up a kit, though, off the corpse of his teammate. And now he makes a move over on the site, tapping the bomb, trying to draw Speedak out into the open. 50 HP plays against 48, slightly in favor of Speedak. Positionally, definitely favoring him. He's hiding, but Lekro still puts the bullet between the eyes. And North will hit 15 first.
That was unbelievably close, and it seemed like the momentum had been with Nemiga over the last few rounds, but this is it. Both teams spending up pretty much every penny. And SG being bought up for JO, I assume that means we're going to see an outer take, or potentially he'll go for a pick into the ramp. On the other side of things, they still come up with a worse buy. An MP9 still in hand, and Gade this time down to a FAMAS. They're actually going to send forth Christo. He will go aggressive. They're pushing all the way through. In fact, ramp has become North's completely. Now, the outside control from Nemiga means that this might not be too big a problem. Lollipop left lurking. A shot from Gade, and that's got to be frustrating. The insta-kill comes through, but Lekro has managed to find the trade. That's the man down in lobby. However, this has nothing to do with the take. There will, however, be Cajun here, but he might get caught in transition. Trying to use an MP9 at this range is not going to be ideal. and he's had to call again for Christo's support, but Jo pushing first actually hands him a free kill. The first one's easy. In fact, Cajun gets all 3. It's the beginning of the end, and Christo confirms it. North will take themselves a victory. It might be a brand new roster. It might be a few players with some teething issues, but the fact is they have managed to stay alive in DreamHack Masters Winter.
And they knocked Nemiga out in the process. And let's be honest, Tom, really, North could have feasibly taken that map secondly on Inferno and took this to a 2-0. That was possible.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this hasn't been one of those performances for Nemiga that I think they'll be particularly happy with. Like, both the maps that they lost were very convincing in their opponent's favor, excusing a fake comeback or two here and there. And their own map choice, they needed some really big clutches. Definitely a bit of work to do, but of course, Lollipop only just coming back into the roster. You can expect it not to be their day. And they only found out about this tournament literally like the day before it happened. So it's a shame to lose them, but unfortunately, it wasn't their time. It is, however, time, Vince, for a short break. We'll be back to break this one down and hopefully have ourselves an interview or two. It was definitely a bit of a turbulent time for North, but they have got things over the line. It wasn't clean, but they managed to get through Inferno and ended up winning both their map choice and the final of Nuke in fairly dominating fashion. And for a team, as said, that's been formed relatively recently, Vince, it's not a bad performance from them by any stretch.
No, I don't think so. You know, there's a lot of issues coming into this event, obviously with Lollipop coming straight back into the roster after pretty much a month away, finding out super last second about coming back in to this event itself. I think, honestly, they can hold their heads high. There were some positives here for sure. Yes, there were some disappointing moments, but ultimately, I think they can take some decent sort of things away from this. And they ran into a North team that, for my money, performed way better than I expected, Tom. After what we saw yesterday, I thought that this could be a fairly straightforward Nemiga victory. Didn't end up being the case, but you have to give a lot of praise across the North. Like, they had a good solid showing.
But that was the thing, like going into things, we both favored them, like especially after what we saw yesterday with Nemiga doing very well versus G2, like taking them close on Mirage. We saw when, okay, maybe they'll be able to do the same on the other side. And it looked like not only did North fight them on their own battlefront at times, like getting very aggressive and like going for these looser style of plays, which was actually something that Letcro spoke about a bit, like having a sort of extra sword to your sheath. It was very interesting to see from them. And I like that. I like the fact that we aren't just sort of sat there going, okay, this is the same old North. They're just going to follow everything that MSL has done previously. They already look to have a little bit of a new look to them. Nonetheless, we got to switch things up a little bit. And I do believe that we are going to have an interview with the side of Nemiga. And yeah, I can hear everything ringing. It is going to be Jo joining us. And well, not quite the result you were looking for, of course, Jo, but the question I want to ask you first of all, so from what we heard, you only sort of found out about this tournament like very, very recently, like a team dropped out. Did you actually have much time to prepare for any of the teams that you played against here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Hello, hello.
There we go. There we go. We can hear you now.
I mean, we didn't have enough time to prepare for our enemies. We knew that we're gonna play this tournament like day before that, so it is what it is.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, man. Like, unlucky with today. I think even though obviously you're going to be disappointed, are there maybe some positives that you can take away from this experience as well? Having got Lollipop back after a while away and not having much time to prepare, like, you coming out of this with some positives that you're happy about?
The positive things is, of course, experience, and of course that Lollipop is back. It's also a positive thing.
Well, at least on an individual level, we saw you have some pretty good moments. I want to take a little bit of a thought back to Train. Obviously, that was a a rough map, I think, to say the least. It seemed from our perspective that you guys, well, you always do. You play things fairly loose. Like, you rely a lot on some of your individual plays. On that map in particular, it seemed like even when you did go for like more aggression, like for example, you went for a couple of B plays, it just seemed like North were ready for you. Did you feel like you were almost getting countered at stages, or was it just that you guys didn't necessarily play the best on your own front?
We didn't change our train game plan from last train games, so it was pretty much obvious what we're gonna do, I think. So if they prepared well, but we didn't had games from them on train to prepare, so we had no clue what they're gonna do. That was a tough game for us.
For sure. Well, it seems like especially as well. So we've seen you in recent tournaments, like for example, the RMR events, getting better and better as you go along. For example, like I was back at WePlay watching you guys play against Na'Vi in an incredibly close series, and we were sort of shocked with how incredibly well you did. Do you find yourselves playing better against CIS teams, or do you still feel like, okay, if we come up against some of the top European teams, maybe just on a different day, you think you could still compete up to that standard?
I think we're more comfortable to play against CIS teams, but we need to learn how to adapt on European teams. So if we do that, I think we will play much better.
Well, you are always a very exciting team to watch. I'm never going to take that away from you, even though there are a few plays here and there where I'm like, oh, damn, they've gone for something so aggressive. But thank you very much for joining us in this tournament. It has been a pleasure. And honestly, Jao, I can't wait to see you again.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye. I always like the fact that, especially I think some of the teams that are up and coming, for sure, you sort of watch them play and you go, okay, they know of the mistakes that they've made. They're not sat here coming in with like a massive ego going, they counter-stratted us into oblivion, or like we had a bad day, they weren't that good, or anything like that, which is things we have heard in the past. Vince, he came in pretty humble and just was like, okay, we know we made some mistakes. We know we've got some work to do, but we're going to do it.
Which is great, because that's how you learn, right? Like if he comes in and he's just saying, oh, we got unlucky, we were a better team, like, oh my God, there's the X, Y, and Z round went against us. Like, you don't really learn anything from that. So I'm very happy that he came in and, like, as he said, he took it on the chin. I think I hear another
you're
interview
being cut
coming
off. Yeah, we have got Gade. I know that we had an interview saying that all he wanted was to get himself a win. You have got yourself the win, Gade. So I'm guessing smiles all around?
Yeah, you bet. Smiles all around here.
Well played, man. It was great to watch you guys on train in particular. Like, you absolutely destroyed them, and it was really cool to see, because we casted you yesterday against Furia, where obviously they just kind of bullied you to a degree at times. They were so aggressive, it was kind of insane. Today it seemed like you were the guys taking the initiative. You were actually playing super aggressive, especially on Inferno. Like, you didn't have a problem pushing down Banana, pushing down middle. It was really nice to see. Was that something that you wanted to do as a result of Nemiga being quite an aggressive team as well, and to try and kind of take them out of their comfort zone?
Yeah, definitely. I think after the Fury game, we had some talks just back and forth how we would approach today's game, and I think we just came to the conclusion that it should be like, due to the lack of prac we have, you can't really set up structure right now, so it's hard to play a smart default where you use their nades and take people off guard. So instead, we just kind of want to just go out there guns blazing and get the duels first before they come to us. And yeah, it was just a great feeling on train, getting the entries all the time, and then it's pretty easy to read out the game, I think.
So a slightly different question to ask you. Sawn-off shotgun, have you been practicing with it? We saw you run in, jump down on someone's head, get a couple of kills. I know you didn't buy it. I know that was Letcro, and I'm still not sure if that was intentional or not. But where did that come from? How did you manage that?
Yeah, so that was a misbuy, and I ended up having 5 HP, and I just we said, yeah, Jonas, can you swap me? And I ended up getting a double entry, and it was quite funny.
Okay, it was a misbuy. We haven't completely gone mad. That's good to know.
Yeah,
nonetheless,
that was part of the strat.
Okay, good. Because if that one's in the book, I'm hoping it's right at the back. But either way, moving into Inferno, I feel like a lot of that for us, from our perspective, felt like you lost some pretty crucial clutches. I don't think it was like any way that you were necessarily out of the map. I remember like MDS having a couple of rounds where you got caught, and I think it was Lollipop as well with a few rounds. And also I think there was one with some like USPs or something that didn't quite go to plan. Were you ready for that map to come up, being one that they're very commonly playing? And are those just the main things you're focusing on at the moment, like the few like sort of sloppier mistakes, and rather than like the in-depth crazy strategies that will probably come later?
Yeah, it's pretty hard trying to like play rocket science CS if you don't really have any practice together. So it's just about, you know, play with your mate close to you, do some good talks, always say what you're doing, and do some good plans together. Then you can maybe get some multi-kills. But in the end, I think Inferno is also, it's a pretty difficult T-side map if you lack a bit of structure. I think we had a decent CT side. I think we could have gotten more rounds, but it was fine today, and I felt better, definitely. So I'm just happy that we had a better CT side than yesterday.
So a question I sort of posed to Lekra yesterday, and he said it wasn't really part of his decision. We were looking at some of the pickups that you've come up with. Now, Christo, to us, seemed like a fairly obvious one based off him being part of AGF, which is fairly heavily linked to North. Whereas Kriaz was one we've only really seen him play in Gen G, a few maps. Obviously, I feel like he was almost just forced into that roster and not necessarily placed around. I'm curious, like, what you saw in him, or what sort of brought him towards your roster, and why it, or whether he's going to be someone that you hope to work with in the future more so.
Yeah, so I think he has a lot of experience because of FPL, and now he's played some official matches as well. And I think he did a great job in Gen G. He's a really good supportive guy, and he knows a lot of nades, and he's also good at doing plays with a teammate next to him. So that's just some really good like abilities to have as a teammate. So I think he's doing great so far.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you've got an awful lot to do to get ready for some of the future matches coming up, so I will let you go, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Congrats, man.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear that. I like the stance he took, I guess, is that after yesterday they realized that, okay, we can't just sit here and try and play how we were playing before. We can't just sit here and try and like implement all these crazy strats that I'm sure that Gade will want to be doing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, he's just going to come in with like basic bitch Counter-Strike and sort of just try and run over teams. But it's nice to see that they've got that different level that they can go, okay, you know what? That wasn't working. Let's try something else.
No, it seems the same of what we were kind of talking about with Jo, right? It's admitting your faults, it's admitting where you went wrong, and how do you fix that? And as he said, you can't come out here and pull off some Einstein Counter-Strike after you've had a roster for all of like a week or so. Like, that's unreasonable expectations. Like, learn to walk before you try and sprint. So I really like that from Gade, and I wish them all the best going forward in the tournament.
Well, I believe we might be able to take a little look at how things have been going so far. Obviously, on the other side of things, we know that Astralis have conquered Liquid. Unfortunately, their trip to Europe has been cut a little bit short, at least within this tournament. And it does bring in, again, some pretty terrifying prospects for the future of the bracket. Of course, either G2 or Furia have to drop down, and either Godsent or Mousesports, who will be our next game on this stream. So make sure you stick around for that one, as that will be coming up shortly after the break. So, yeah, I think that's going to be one hell of a match. I'm very much excited to see how Mousesports and Godsent face off against each other. Emmy, as I said, he's someone I like to talk to. I think the interview we had with him was really insightful, saying that he has basically been implementing a full new set of strategies for what has basically been a couple of weeks. So, you know, there's a lot to come up, Vince. There is plenty of action to come, and with G2 and Fury on the other side, who knows what's going to be going down. For now, though, we are going to be heading off to a break, and afterwards, Godsent will look to try and topple another Titan as they take on Karrigan's Mousesports.